speak like this. Can you hear me? Okay. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. As we said, first we praise and we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for allowing us to recite from his names and to pray to him and to seek his forgiveness and gathered in the ratib of Imam Abdullah bin Alawi al-Haddad. And we thank him also that we are gathered here to learn from our deen and to learn from the aspect of deen, one of the most important aspects, which is the element of tafakkur. And as we said, that tafakkur is the action of uh, extracting. Bismillah. And as we said, the tafakkur is the action of combining between two things that is known in order to arrive at a third, which is yet to be unknown. And based on the guidance of the Quran, as Imam Abdullah bin Alawi al-Haddad has exemplified for us here, there are several passageways or pathways of tafakkur, and he has outlined for us what are some of its fruits. The first that was mentioned is the tafakkur that increases in our knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and also the one that increases in our love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the tafakkur of his asma wal sifat wal that. And then to contemplate about the gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whose fruits is mahabbah, that it fills the heart with love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Secondly, it is to contemplate on the implication of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's encompassing knowledge, especially his encompassing us and his vision of us, and that all that we do is known and seen by him, and this is in order to produce the state of being conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and fear that we do not fall into things where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not desire us to be in. And then after that is the تتفكر في تقصيرك, يعني the contemplation at how we have fallen short, yes, on what is required of us, and this increases in our khawf or fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then to contemplate about the al-hayatud dunya, about the ephemerality of the temporary nature of the life in this world, yes, compared to the akhirah, and this produces az-zuhud fi dunya wa raghbah fil akhirah. And so we resume today with the following: وَعَلَمَ أَنَّهُ يَنْبَغِي لَكَ أَنْ تَتَفَكَّرْ فِي قُرْبِ نُزُولِ الْمَوْتِ وحصول الحسرة وندامة بعد الفوت. قال الله تعالى: قل إن الموت الذي تفرون منه فإنه ملاقيكم ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة فينبئكم بما كنتم تعملون. That important, that it is incumbent upon you to reflect, uh, uh, around how close death is to us. Yes, how death could be a few breaths away. Yes, because there's no guarantee of an extension of our life. Yes, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala alone knows its ultimate end. When, yes, since everyone is born into this world with a certain prescribed period, a certain period that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained. So therefore we never know when will this moment be. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, قُلْ إِنَّ الْمَوْتَ الَّذِي تَفِرُّونَ مِنْهُ. Say, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, say to them that indeed death, of which we tend to shy away from, that we tend to run away from its topic and to discuss it, indeed it shall surely, فَإِنَّهُ, indeed it shall surely catch up to you. It shall surely come and meet you, and then you will be returned to the all-knowing, إِلَى عَالِمْ الْغَيْبِ وَالشَّهَادَةِ, to the one who is all-knowing pertaining to the realms unseen and the realms of sense and sensible experience. فَيُنَبِّئُكُم بِمَا كُنتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And he shall surely inform you, he shall surely unveil to you, he shall surely reproduce for you all the things that you have been that you have been doing. بِمَا كُنتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. And since he is the alimul ghaibi wa shahada, he is the one who knows everything in the alamul ghaib, yes, in the unseen realm, and in the realms which are the realm of sense and sensible experience. This is inclusive of not only the general things which are happening, but the details of things which are happening. His knowledge encompasses that which crosses our hearts. His knowledge encompasses ma tubduna wa ma tukhfun, that which you reveal unto people as per your actions that you wish to be known, and that which you conceal pertaining to your motives and your intention. So, although everyone, yes, perhaps, yes, might remember a certain deed that you have done well, yes, perhaps they consider that it is a good deed. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you yourself, yes, if you have intended otherwise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will know and will then unveil it in the Yawm al-Qiyamah. Several witnesses will be produced in the Yawm al-Qiyamah. First and foremost, it will be your very bodily organs. Yes, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Yawm al-Qiyamah, indeed, on that day, al-Yawma, yes, on that day, mouths shall be sealed, yes, and the hands shall do the talking, and your feet will be as witnesses, yes, will be as witnesses. And on that day also, the angels, yes, will also be with the witness, and you yourself will be the witness. But it is up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. Sometimes he may decide to forgive, and sometimes as he has guarded you in this world, he shall continue to guard you in the Yawmul Qiyamah, even though you yourself know. But to your fortune, he has not recorded in the book. To your fortune, he does not make it known to the angels. To your fortune, he even erases it, yes, from the memory of your hands and feet, yes, and the rest of your bodily organ, the ethical organs. Why? Because he is al-wasi'ul maghfirah, yes, because no one is greater in forgiveness than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. ثم تردون إلى عالم الغيب والشهادة. You will be returned to the one who knows everything, to the one who shall observe whether you have proven true to you have proven honest and true to your promise unto him, and and to the covenant that you have taken from him. Yes. And what is this covenant that we have taken with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It is the covenant of Allah to be rabbikum. Yes, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has taken this covenant with us in the day as to when he asked us, am I not your Lord? And then we said, Bala shahidna, indeed, we bear witness unto that. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sealed the covenant. Oh, he is our Lord and we are his servants. Yes, and it is and command comes from him, and to us is to obey. So when he has then revealed unto us the Quran via the angel Jibril, and relate unto us by his most beloved messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the commands and the prohibitions are to be taken seriously, and the actions and our deeds are all recorded, and it shall be unveiled, revealed. Yes. وقال تعالى حتى إذا جاء أحدهم الموت قال رب ارجعون لعلي أعمل صالحا فيما تركت كلا إنها كلمة هو قائلها. Yes, حتى, yes, until when, yes, until when one of them is visited by death, when death comes to them. أحدهم الموت, yes, through the coming of the angel of death. When the angel of death comes, and when his soul, yes, shall cross over to the barzakh, yes, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala described, فَلَوْلَا إِن كُنْتُمْ غَيْرَ مَدِينِينَ. And if indeed, yes, you are not under the sovereign power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, تَرْعُونَهَا إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ, then why not? You return your soul as it is about to be separated from your body, divorced from your body. فَلَوْلَا إِن كُنْتُمْ غَيْرَ مَدِينِينَ تَرْجِعُونَهَا إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. Allah said, but certainly we are not able to do that. Yes. And when death does come like that, yes, what shall a man who has wasted his life, yes, wasted the opportunity of tawbah to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wasted the opportunity to live upright, what shall he say? Rabbi rji'un, my Lord, please return me. Yes, because by now the soul realizes that all that he has been reminded, reprimanded, told about the coming life in the Quran, it shall now be clear before the eyes of his soul. Yes, then he shall say, certainly, upon seeing the countenance of the angel of death, and upon being given a glimpse of the afterlife, he said, Rabbi rji'un, my Lord, please return me. Yes, if I were to be returned, لَعَلِّ أَعْمَلَ صَالِحًا, I shall correct my ways, and I shall do good فِيمَا تَرَكْتُ, of the things that I have left behind. Kalla, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, nay, yes, that's not true. Rather, inna kalimatun huwa qailuha. It is just but kalima. It is just but words that proceeds from his mouth. Yes, it is just something he uttered out of a state of fear. Because were he to be upright, he would have been upright in his life. وقال تعالى يا أيها الذين آمنوا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, O you who have iman, O you who carry faith, O you whose content of faith necessitates that we affirm the existence of the afterlife and its full significance. That the carrying of faith necessitates that we affirm the truth of and the truth and eternity of the afterlife compared to the ephemerality of this world. La tulhikum. Do not let your wealth amwalakum wala awladakum an dhikrillah. Yes, do not let your wealth nor your children distract you from remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now it is interesting here. Yes, do not let ourselves be distracted by wealth nor children from remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. As we know in Surah Al-Ma'un, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, فَوَيْلٌ لِلْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَنْ صَلَاتِهِمْ سَاهُونَ. Yes, so whale, yes, which is a valley in hellfire. Yes, that shall be the abode. That shall be the abode of that shall be a terrible abode. Yes, for those who disobey Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. It is reserved for those who are oblivious of their salah. Alladhina hum an salatihim sahun. Yes, oblivious of their salah, heedless of their salah. Yes, one of the meanings, according to the Mufassirun, is that they allow for the times of prayer to pass, yes, without them realizing. Yes, when they have other priorities, without them realizing oh, that their dhuhr has now come into asr, and the asr has come into maghrib, their maghrib has come into isha, that they have fallen asleep without completing the isha until it is now fajr, or now that they have missed their fajr. That's the meaning of an salatihim sahun. Yes, and la tulhikum amwalakum. And what is it that shall distract them from their prayer? Yes. What shall distract them from their duty to remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Al-amwal wal-awlad, it is mentioned here. But as we know of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's enemy in the Quran, it is mentioned that three distinct personalities, Qarun wa Haman. And these individual archetypal figures, yes, their archetypal characteristics could be in existence in any one of us. Well, as for Fir'aun, what he was with, what he was occupied with, yes, is power, yes, and power and the acquisition of more power. As for Qarun, yes, his preoccupation, it is with wealth. Yes, it is with his wealth. How he considered his wealth is of his own doing, of his own gathering and collection. Yes, and how to augment his wealth. That is all his concern. And then there is Haman. Yes, Haman, the minister of Fir'aun, and his major preoccupation is with wada'if, with his duty. peace, let us yes, and so therefore out of that they are all three of them prevented from the dhikrullah. Yes, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows death to supersede them. So now do not let our wealth and our children or anything of this world, yes, including wada'if, including tijara, including businesses, including responsibilities, from our duty of remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Yes, until the end of the verse in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, walan, and Allah shall never. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses this negation form, lan, yes, as a strong form of negation. Lan, meaning to say, he shall never. Yu'akhirullahu nafsan idha ja'a ajaluha. He shall never postpone, extend, yes, a life whence its ajal has arrived, whence its appointed time has arrived. As we know, every individual human being has an appointed ajal in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's knowledge. Why we ought to think about the reality of death and its possibility of coming close to us? It is the fruits of this contemplation is that it um, it cures us of wishful thinking. It cures us of it cures us of illusory and delusionary hopes about future plans in this world. Yes, wa islah al-amal, and it induces us to improve our amal. Yes, it induces us to improve our knowledge. Wa i'dadu zad li yawmil ma'ad, and more importantly, it induces us to prepare, yes, with provisions for the afterlife. As it awakens us, let us say, from the slumber, yes, of thinking that we have forever in this world, that we shall be kings in this world, that we shall climb the corporate ladder, that we shall climb the fame ladder, that we shall be on top, and so on and so forth. Before the next thing we know, then death comes and catches us. And then further, وَاعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ يَنْبَغِي لَكَ أَنْ تَتَفَكَّرَ فِي الْأَخْلَاقِ وَالْأَعْمَالِ التي وصف الله بها أولياؤه وأعداؤه. Also, yes, the next in importance is contemplate about the akhlaq, about the virtues, yes, the virtues and characteristics and actions which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has described, including the vices of his awliya, he opposes amongst his servants. Yes. وَفِيمَا عَدَّ لِلْفَرِيقَيْنِ فِي الْعَاجِلِ وَالْآجِلِ, and as what he has prepared for both of them, yes, either in this dunya or in the akhirah. قال الله تعالى, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ, indeed the righteous, إِنَّ الْأَبْرَارَ لَفِي نَعِيمٍ وَإِنَّ الْفُجَّارَ لَفِي جَحِيمٍ. Indeed, al-abrar, as the ones who are righteous, they shall be in the na'imul jannah, in the pleasures of jannah, and we have described before, yes, the pleasures of jannah. Yes, sufficient it is to say, yes, that righteousness and virtue in Islam, and righteousness and virtue in our worldview is attended by a goodly end. It's a goodly end, an end, yes, whose pleasures, whose bliss is incomparable to anything in the dunya. Wa innal fujjar, yes, and as for the vicious, and as for the evil and the corrupt, yes, and the contemptible, they shall be in the jahim of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the hellfire of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then further Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, أَفَمَنْ كَانَ مُؤْمِنًا كَمَنْ كَانَ فَاسِقًا لَا يَسْتَوُونَ. And as for he who is a believer, as for he who is a mu'min, as for he who trusts in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as for he who believes in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the day of resurrection, yes, as for he who is virtuous, is he the same like the one who is fasiq, yes, the one who is evil, the one who is corrupt? La yastawi. Indeed, in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are not the same. Yes, indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall treat the mu'min and the fasiq the same. Yes. قال تعالى فأما من أعطى وصدق بالحسنى سنيسره لليسرى. Yes, indeed. Yes, those who have given أعطى, meaning to say those who have done in charity, those who give away in zakat, yes, in obligatory charity, and those who give away their assistance to others, who volunteer assistance to others, who help in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wattaqa, yes, and have fear of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wasaddaqa bil husna, yes, and affirm, yes, verify that which is kind, which is true, fasanuyasiruhu lil yusra. We shall make it easy for him to achieve al yusr, ease in the afterlife. وأما من بخل واستغنى وكذب بالحسنى فسنيسره للعسرى. Yes. And the opposite of that is the one وأما من بخل, yes, the one who is stingy, the one who restrains himself from giving in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from giving the rights of others, yes, وكذب, and they deny the reality of the afterlife, and they deny the reality of Jannah. What we shall make ease for him is the difficulty of the torments of hellfire. إلى آخر السورة, until the end of that surah. وقال تعالى إنما المؤمنون الذين إذا ذكر الله وجلت قلوبهم. Indeed, the sign, as the sign and characteristic of the believer is that should Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be mentioned in front of them, yes, should the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala be mentioned to them, if Allah is mentioned unto them, wajilat qulubuhum. Yes, their hearts tremble in fear. Yes, their hearts tremble in reverential awe. Yes, yes, because of the necessary hal that attends their heart, contemplating. Yes, contemplating the magnificence of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, contemplating uh, his reality and presence, contemplating his knowledge and power, contemplating, yes, contemplating his attributes. Yes, your heart shall tremble, yes, in contemplating him. وَإِذَا تُلِيَتْ عَلَيْهِمْ آيَاتُهُ. And if his verses are read upon the believer, زَادَتْهُمْ إِيمَانًا. Their iman shall increase, their faith and trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their excitedness, their looking forward to the Yawmul Akhirah and to the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala increases. Zadathum imana. Their certainty, yes, their certainty becomes established. Even as we have discussed in other spaces, in other places, that the iman that increases here is in its experience, in its establishment of a certain hal. Yes, this is not the increase insofar as the content of knowledge is concerned, because the content is established. Yes, but it's in the hal of the content that is the iman that increases. Now, ila qawlihi ta'ala, lahum darajatu 'inda rabbihim wa maghfiratun wa rizqun karim. If this is the characteristic, if this is your characteristic, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned, you have reverential fear of him, and when his verses are read, your iman increases, and that you rely upon Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then if you have these characteristics, lahum darajat inda rabbihim. Those who have iman are of various degrees. Those who have iman are of various stations before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, and to have darajat inda rabbihim, to have stations with ta'ala, is the sign of the greatest honor. As we know, even in this world, yes, in this world, in the society, let us say that certain individuals, such as kings, yes, possess the monopoly of power, or were sovereign, yes, sovereigns in this world, like governments and such, yes, possess the ability to award and to disgrace, or have been given, yes, have been lent the ability to award and reward and disgrace and punish, yes, to possess therefore darajat, yes, to possess degrees before the state, before the sovereign, such as kings, is something that people vie towards, isn't it? People compete, yes, people compete to be in the good eye of the king, yes, shall be bestowed upon a certain person, let us say a certain darajat, yes, darajat besaran, a certain title, so and so, so and so possesses this title, and so possesses that title, which is higher than this title. Yes, and they vie with each other. Yes, and likewise before Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, there are degrees, darajat, and the darajat is dependent. The degrees of proximity to Allah, the degrees of nobility in the sight of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is dependent on the state of taqwa. Lahum darajatu inda rabbihim. May Allah Subhanahu wa Taala increase our darajat before Him. May Allah Subhanahu wa Taala make us those who possess darajat before Him. Yes, maghfiratun wa rizqun karim. Not only are they given darajat, they are also given forgiveness, and they are given rizqun karim. Yes, subhanallah. Only Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, who is the creator of mankind and the bestower of knowledge and the bestower of language to mankind, yes, can describe sustenance in such a manner. Rizqun karim, yes, honorable sustenance, yes, honorable, noble, yes, noble sustenance, because everyone is given sustenance in this dunya wal akhirah. Rizq, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala gives us rizq in the forms of the hissiyat wal ma'nawiyat, in the forms of that which pertains to our bodily senses and that which pertains to our soul. Yes, Allah gives us the rizq, yes, in terms of wealth, in terms of food, in terms of clothing. Everything that we have been given in this world is rizq from Allah, including knowledge, including iman, including meanings. Yes, all of these things are rizqum min Allah. And so if He describes us, if Allah is the one who describes that He shall grant you of rizqun kareem, that means He shall grant you a bounty of which the descriptor to that bounty, and the description of that bounty is Kareem. Yes, and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is the Kareem, the noble, the gracious, the munificent. So out of His munificence, He shall grant you Rizqun Kareem. And so you know certainly that His description, yes, is something that we ought to strive for. Yes, it surely must be good. It surely must end in bliss. It is surely something that is worthy. Yes, it is surely something that is worthy. So as we know, if a person who is uh, yes, of high standing, yes, of high standing, his gifts will be of high standing. And Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is the greatest of all who possess higher standings. And so that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala were He to give you rizqun kareem, surely, yes, it is something that enables the one who is given. And then further Allah Subhanahu wa Taala said, وَعَدَ اللَّهُ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْكُمْ وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ لَيَسْتَخْلِفَنَّهُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ كَمَا اسْتَخْلَفَ الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Indeed, Allah Subhanahu wa Taala promises those who have iman and those who perform amal salih, as those who have iman and those who are sound, that He shall make them rulers upon the earth, as He has made rulers, yes, as He has made other believers rulers who were before them. Now, as we look at this, yes, istikhlaf from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala to grant vicegerency, to grant rulership, or to be made rulers unto this world. What does it mean? Is it limited uh, to possessing dominion over the physical world? Well, it may include that, although it is not necessary. As we know that the prophets, alayhi salatu wasalam, not all of them were given were given sovereignty upon the face of the earth, in that they were given the trust of wealth, or that they were given the trust of power, or that they were given armies, or that perhaps that they were given castles. But in truth, the meaning of al-istikhlaf from Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, dominion here refers to dominions of our lower selves. As dominion of our lower selves, meaning to say that your nafsul natiqah, your nafsul ruhaniyah, your spiritual, the spiritual aspect of your body, yes, is not made prisoner of your nafs. It's not made prisoner of your nafsul haywaniyah, your animalistic and base desires. You shall be liberated from fear. You shall be liberated. You shall be liberated from angst. You shall be liberated from the things that visit those who are at the mercy of their nafs. Yes, you shall be liberated from the humiliation, yes, of suffering your nafs. You shall be liberated from all of that. That is istikhlaf from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The prophets are the true kings. Isa alayhi salam was a true king, yes, despite the opposition from his people, despite the opposition both, yes, from within his community, yes, amongst the Banu Israel who opposed him, yes, and the opposition, as we know from history, that comes from the Romans who were, who were possessing the physical dominion of Jerusalem and who were oppressing the Jews. Isa alayhi salam was the true king. Yes, despite having his hands as his pillow. Yes, despite not having possession of the physical world, despite not having an army, he was the true king. Yes, because he could worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala freely. Now that's freedom. Yes, freedom is to act, yes, according to the your true nature, and that is power. Yes, that's istikhlaf from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Imam Abdullah bin Alawi al-Haddad was the true king. Yes, for he could pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, he was not distracted by this world. He was not made prisoner to his nafs. Yes, so therefore istikhlaf is that is what we should be striving for. Yes, to be liberated from the vices, to be liberated, yes, to be liberated from having desires of things that shall bring about our perdition, that shall bring about our destruction. Now that's in the dunya. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "La yastakhlifannahum fil ard kama stakhlafa alladhina min qabl." And if in this dunya we are liberated, yes, from the trappings of the nafs, we're liberated from hasad, yes, from envy, from kibir, from ujub, from the rest of the weaknesses of the soul. In the akhirah, our status as true kings, yes, as true kings, will be made apparent, yes, in the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In this dunya, yes, in this dunya we're prohibited, yes, we're prohibited to adorn ourselves, yes, with utensils of gold and silver. The men are not allowed to put on gold and to put on gold on their body as ornaments. Men are not allowed to wear silk upon the face of the dunya. And then further, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is the exemplar par excellence, as we know that it is recorded that he used to lie down, yes, on a bed made of reed until there was an imprint on the back of his body, a temporary imprint on the back of his body. Whereas the Caesars and the rulers of the world, they live opulently. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to endure many days of hunger. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to eat, used to drink like a slave in this world. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam dressed simply in the face of the world. But yet, as we know, in the akhirah, none shall be equated. Yes, none shall be equated with the majesty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestows upon his prophets, bestow upon the believers, bestowed upon the inhabitants of Jannah, as it is described in Sahih Muslim in some of the ahadith, that the lowest of all the heavens, the lowest of all the heavens, and lowest of status, yes, the lowest of status that is possessed by an inhabitant of Jannah would be multiples, yes, multiples more of the greatest kings upon this face of the earth. And that's true istikhlaf from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For the world is truly only something that we pass through. So istikhlaf from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we ought to seek is the liberation from our nafs indeed. Now, to further this, فَكُلًّا أَخَذْنَا بِذَنْبِهِ فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ أَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِ حَاسِبًا وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ أَخَذَتْهُ الصَّيْحَةُ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ خَسَفْنَا بِهِ الْأَرْضَ وَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ أَغْرَقْنَا وَمَا كَانَ اللَّهُ لِيَظْلِمَهُمْ وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. This is describing the peoples of the past. Yes, the peoples of the past from the Qawm of Prophet Noah. Yes, from the Qawm of Prophet Hud, Prophet Saleh, Prophet Lut, Shu'aib, Musa, all these great prophets, yes, they were faced with stern opposition from their qawm. And all of this aqwam, all of these people who were composed of obedient people, those who did not heed the call of the prophets, perhaps with the exception of the people of Yunus alayhi salam, yeah, was the ones who were because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said that Allah subhanahu, as a result of their heeding the call of Prophet Yunus, Allah granted them a period of ease in this dunya where they enjoy their life in this dunya. But at other aqwam, yes, fakulan, and all of them we have taken, yes, with their them, yes, we have captured them in the moment of their continuity and persistence in their willful disobedience, their willful ignorance and willful contempt of the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and messenger of Allah. فَمِنْهُمْ مَنْ أَرْسَلْنَا عَلَيْهِ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes that the various means which they were punished, some of whom were visited with turbulence and let us say quakes and all sorts of natural, well, we say natural disaster, but in truth, as everything of the natural disaster is the result of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's command. Yes. And some of them, yes, suffered the flood, the deluge, as it were, as the people of Prophet Noah. And indeed, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not uh, commit an injustice upon them. Yes, it was not injustice that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala visited upon them. وَلَكِنْ كَانُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ يَظْلِمُونَ. That it is they themselves who have wronged themselves. Yeah. Now we contemplate about the Ummah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam that have committed, yes, and the many sins and vices that we have continued to do, that we persist in. Yes, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us tawbah, and and if he should decide to send his punishment, may ourselves and our loved ones and the rest of the believers be spared of his wrath and anger, and may it be given, and may he forgive us upon our sins. وقال تعالى المنافقون والمنافقات بعضهم من بعض يأمرون بالمنكر وينهون عن المعروف. What is the characteristics of the munafiqeen, the hypocrites? Yes, both the male and the female. Yes, the male and female amongst the hypocrites, they mutually aid each other. They mutually conspire. Yes, mutually conspire towards the munkar. Yes, towards the munkar, towards that which Allah earns the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and they prevent al-ma'ruf. They prevent the good which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands. وَلَعَنَهُمُ اللَّهُ وَلَهُمْ عَذَابٌ مُقِيمٌ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall surely put his damnation upon them, and surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall visit upon them a grievous punishment. وقال تعالى والمؤمنون والمؤمنات. And as for the believers, male and female, بعضهم أولياء بعض. They mutually assist each other. They mutually support each other. Yes, يأمرون بالمعروف. Yes, they command that which is good. وينهون عن المنكر. They prohibit that which is evil. إلى قوله, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's word. وَرِضْوَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. Yes, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rida. Yes, his acceptance, his contentment with us. Another is the greatest of all achievements, the greatest of all successes is to achieve Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's contentment. ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. Indeed, that the true and real measure of success is to attain the contentment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. How many of us grew up? How many of us grew up believing and was offered an alternative vision that we have to correct? Yes, how many of us believe that success is in achieving and setting our goals, or achieving and setting society's goals? Yes, either consciously or unconsciously. Yes, we have imbibed, yes, the values of the society without us realizing, and then we have personalized it to be our own, and so we set to ourselves these various targets and goals, and we consider it with triumph. Yes, for example, if we obtain a great amount of money, we consider ourselves triumphant, successful, happy if we achieve a particular target with regards to wealth, fame, with regards to a certain position that we have desired, with regards to a certain, perhaps sometimes it's something less. Yes, we target for ourselves for just the purposes of the dunya, isn't it? For the purposes of the dunya, we set ourselves that we must complete this task. Yes, we have a bucket list or whatever list that we set upon ourselves, in which we do not seek in that rida of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. Allahu Akbar. That is the greatest form of ghurur. Yes, it is what you call a-riya. Yes, a-riya. Yes, a-riya is to aim for something, to target something in which it is not the rida of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you should desire. And it is especially blameworthy if it pertains to the umur al ibadah, yes, if it pertains to ibadah. But even if it doesn't pertain to ibadah, yes, supposing we say that it is not of riyah, for example, to desire nice clothing, to desire nice clothing, to desire, as the Sahaba described, Uridu thawbi hasanan wa na'li hasanan. I love to have a good apparel, Ya Rasulullah, and I love to have good shoes. Is this considered al-kibar? Is this considered arrogance? The Prophet ﷺ did not say that. The Prophet ﷺ did not say that it was that, because in Allah al-jamil yuhibbul jama. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the source of all beauty, and He loves that which is beautiful. Yes. However, it is when you trespass upon al-haq. Yes, you exceed the limits of al-haq. That is al-kibir. That's arrogance. But on desiring something, yes, merely in order to please your nafs, yes, merely in order to please your nafs, merely in order to prove yourself, and so on and so forth. Now, what are all these desires? Yes, well, you may obtain them, and supposing they are of the nature of the mubah, then it is an opportunity wasted. Yes, an opportunity wasted, because had you desired in its state, yes, the pleasure of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, then it would have been an ibadah. And how many of these goals and targets that we set for ourselves, yes, whose pleasure of obtaining it, yes, is merely in order to prove against others that we are capable, to prove against others that we can do something, and so on and so forth. And we forget that had we set our goals differently, yes, had we set our goals in order to, with the consciousness that Allah is ever seeing us, with the consciousness that He ever hears us, with the consciousness that He is closer to us than our jugular veins, then it should induce shame in our hearts. Yes. It induce embarrassment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes. As it is said in the Ayyuhal Walad of Imam al-Ghazali, yes, quoting Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how are you how are you capable of forgetting me, whereas you are ever surrounded by my ni'mah? Yes. How are we, yes, by implication, how are we to have all these different goals and targets and achievements and accomplishments that we so desire, whereas the means through which we achieve all that which we desire, all gifts from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yes, all gifts, yes. On the other hand, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, despite giving us the freedom, yes, is willing to purchase our efforts, is willing to purchase from us our greatest capital, which is time. Allah said, Inna Allah ishtara min al-mu'minin. Indeed, He is willing to purchase from the believers anfusahum, their lives, their very selves, their wealth, and He grants us in its reward al-Jannah. And what is the temporary satisfaction in this world? Yes, compared to the Jannah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Man alladhi yuqridu Allah qardan hasana. Who is willing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, to give Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a goodly loan. Indeed, yes, indeed, this is truly the most benefit, is truly the most gracious and the most honorable and the most the kindest of all statements, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is asking us who is willing to lend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala a goodly loan, whereas we know it is His. Yeah? We are His. As our existence is His gift, that we are indebted to Him for everything. And yet He says to us, despite Him giving it to us, yes, despite it is being Him, His in His first place, is now willing to loan it from us. And if we lend it to Him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, meaning to say, if we, yes, instead of pursuing our various projects, we intend instead to pursue His rida, what shall Allah do for us? Yes. وَيُضَاعِفُ لَهُ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala then shall reply, shall compensate and multiply. Yes. Qardun Hasan. Yes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Qardun Hasan, a goodly loan. Yes, in amongst the fuqaha, they describe the goodly loan as a loan between two believers or two parties, in which one gives the loan to the other, and uh, uh, the other is to pay the loan, yes, with his to the utmost of his ability, with the possibility that one may forgive the loan of the other. Yes, in the case that he is unable. That's one of the description of a good loan, yeah, qardun hasan, like that. Meaning to say there is no riba in there is no charge of interest in the qard, then it becomes a good qardun hasan, good loan. But when Allah describes good loan, what is meant rather? The qardun hasan here, in truth, in with regards to Allah, the good loan is with regards to the repayment. Yes, subhanallah. Yes, the good loan is not the fact that Allah may not compensate us. Goodly loan is not the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may be delayed, that we may forgive what Allah owes us. Allah does not owe us anything. But the goodly loan here will be seen, will be apparent in the Yawmul Akhir and the Yawmul Qiyamah, in which we would be, yes, uh, we would be amazed, we would be surprised. Yes, we would run out of words to describe, yes, to describe the extent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's generosity. Yes, imagine in this world, if a person were to borrow from you, say, a certain amount of money, and he pays you double, you'd be amazed already at this man's generosity. Meaning, it is not stipulated, but because it is not, because if it's stipulated, then it is riba. If it is not stipulated, a person borrows from you 1,000 ringgit and he pays you 2,000, you'd be amazed. Oh, this is such an honorable and generous person. But were he to pay you 10 times, you'd say, oh, this is amazing. This is, you know, beyond imagination, isn't it? He borrows from you 1,000 and he pays for you, say, 10,000. That's crazy, isn't it? You would imagine what a noble man. Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said he will multiply 10 times, 100 times, up to 700 times. Yes, 700 times. Can you imagine lending somebody 1,000 ringgit and 700,000 ringgit? Allah, Allah. And that's just that doesn't represent the limit of his generosity. Yes, because in some cases, yes, in some cases, the good that you do is rewarded with Jannah. And what's the worth of Jannah? You cannot know really. You cannot know the extent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's generosity. Yes, and sometimes a particular act of charity or sadaqah, yes, a small amount of sadaqah, we realize is the reward given by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is as big as a mountain. Yes, in the Yawm al-Akhirah. No one is more generous than Allah. No one is more giving than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Wasi'ul maghfirah. The extent of His forgiveness is beyond our comprehension. Beyond our comprehension. Or we may forgive a person. Let us say the best human beings may forgive a person for wronging the person. But to consider the wrong things that the person have done for you, good, this is not something human beings are capable of. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in the Yawm al-Qiyamah that not only will He forgive the believers, وَبَدَّلْنَا سَيِّئَاتِهِمْ حَسَنًا. The evil, the sins that we have done, Allah shall change it into hasana. Allahu Akbar. Yes, He shall change it into good deeds. Yes. That's a generosity unheard of. And so therefore bank with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trust with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Desire that we should always be in a state of trying to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَرِضْوَانُ مِنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ. وقال تعالى, indeed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ لَا يَرْجُونَ لِقَاءَنَا وَرَضُوا بِالْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَاطْمَأَنُّوا بِهَا. Allahu Akbar. Indeed, those who have no hopes, who place no hopes of meeting us, yes, who, Allahu Akbar, out of their arrogance and stupidity, yes, out of their arrogance and stupidity, they have no desire to meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They have no desire, yeah, no desire to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure. Waradu, and they're content with just the hayatul dunya. Allahu Akbar. Can you imagine a greater amount of stupidity? What and they feel content, they feel pleased. Yes. Well, they feel pleased with the dunya. Yes, even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the dunya to whom He hates and those whom He loves. Allah subhanahu the dunya is not worth anything. As the Prophet said, if the dunya is worth more than the wing of a gnat, yes, the wing of a fly, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not give the kafir even a drink of water. But since it is not worth more than the wing of a gnat, yes, wing of a fly, yes, then he gives it. Yes, he doesn't care that who to whom he is given. But Jannah is reserved only for those that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. Yes, ila qawlihi wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin, until the end of the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala describes that the prayer and the praises of the believers are that alhamdu, yes, they praise. Indeed, all praises are due unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Lord of al-alamin, the Lord of the universe. What is the result of this tafkir? What is the result of taking this contemplation? Mahabbat su'ada. Yes, you will then love. You will then love the blissful. You will love the honorable. You will love the beautiful. You will love the people of virtue. And what you will do is you will try then to improve yourself. Yes, to improve yourself, to bring yourself, yes, to follow, yes, to follow the truthful, and that you should act the way they acted, and to have the attributes of their to possess and to try to acquire their attributes of bughdul ashya, and you will have then the opposite feeling, yes, to those who are wretched, yes, those who are wretched, yes, you would desire, not to be like them, yes, and you will ensure that yourself, yes, to abstain, yes, to abstain from the actions and to abstain from possessing sacrifices. وَإِنْ ذَهَبْنَا نَتَّبِعْ مَجَارِ الْفِكْرِ. Now that's after that Imam Haddad then then continues to describe about the other means of fikr. So that's, I suppose, the extent to which we will share in from the Risalatul Ma'awana. We have reached 12 p.m. my time, or your 5 p.m. Uh, uh, Unfortunately, I suppose, with limits of time, I ask your forgiveness that this week I will be reading from Bilal Itikar. Uh, uh, Inshallah, in our next meeting, I shall try and be more cognizant, yes, so that we can have time to read the other work also. Inshallah.